So let me know if you agree, but by far the funniest scene in this episode was the scene where he's about to go through the monitor and the little person's like, please confirm to your knowledge that you are not a fully robotic being. We're born on an organic creature and do in fact possess what many cultures would call a soul. And Loki goes, what? To my knowledge, do a lot of people not know they're robots? And he says, thank you for your confirmation. Please move through. And he goes, what if I was a robot?
There's like that moment of pause, like, would I know?
Yeah. And actually, it's like kind of a theme like that plays into it, and we'll get into it. But and he goes, the machine would melt you from the inside out. Please move along, sir.
Yeah. It's so great. So great.
Hello and welcome to our review of episode 1 of the Loki TV series titled Glorious Purpose. It's the Nerd Rundown. Sounds so weird doing it this way, but we'll work that out.
Yeah. Special episode.
Yeah, special episode, special release. So we're gonna be reviewing these Marvel shows, Star Wars shows, all the big shows, the maybe even the boys, stuff like that. We're gonna be doing it on a weekly release like this. And giving a little extra attention to it that it deserves, especially when it's as good as this was.
For sure.
Episode 1, Glorious Purpose.
Absolutely, yeah.
The story of Loki. So to start it off, I want to recap where Loki was before, because it's very important to know, and it definitely confused some people. So in the very beginning, it showed the Avengers in-game time heist scene when they went back to 2012 to get the Tesseract, and hilariousness ensues, and the Tesseract
Keystone Cops type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Keystone Cops. And so the Tesseract gets kicked over to Loki, and he picks it up, and he gets transported out of that scene. So that Loki is the Loki we start off with. It's 2012 Loki that we are working with here, not the Loki that we had at the beginning of Infinity War, which was kind of a redemptive type Loki. He was on his redemption path, well on his way there. He still maybe a little mischievous, but he basically sacrificed himself for Thor and his other Asgardians, and then he died. And so people are like confused trying to get those two, or they're getting those two crisscrossed. But the Loki we are dealing with is the Loki from 2012 in the Avengers, who just got beat by the Avengers after trying to invade Earth and take over Earth. Right. So that's the Loki we are dealing with. He's still a very evil Loki. And we pick up in the Moby Desert, and great scene where he stands up and he starts doing his speech that he said in the beginning of the Avengers movie in 2012, where he says, I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose. Yeah. So that glorious purpose comes up a few times in this scene in this movie, because we're this TV show. Let me get that right. In this TV show, it's titled Glorious Purpose. It's mentioned a couple other times. Loki thinks that he is burdened with this purpose to be king of these realms in space, and so he's thinking he's this big shot kind of guy, and he's about to get a big wake up call. Right. And so the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, comes in, and they whip him into shape. They put a little time juju on him, and I thought that was a great slow motion scene. I thought it was going to be like a real quick slow motion scene. It just kept going. Cheek. How do they do that? That was incredible.
And the way she talks to him, she's like, even though you're in slow motion, you're feeling all the pain.
And yeah, so God, that would hurt. That would suck.
Yeah.
And so they take him to where the Time Variance Authority exists, which is a place that exists out of time, and that's an important theme in this show. You hear the word time and that theme come up so much already in this episode. It's going to come up throughout the series, so it's the big theme of the show. And the Time Variance Authority is they've kind of always sat in the background, and they monitor what's called the sacred flow of time. So they have this great like throwback, like Rocky and Bullwinkle type cartoon, and it showed that the timekeepers, there was once a multiverse. So we've talked a little bit about multiverse lately, and
we're going to be talking about it more.
We're going to be talking about it a lot more, especially through this show. And so the multiverse, there was a multiverse war, and the timekeepers say that they merged all the timelines into one, and they now are watching over the sacred timeline, our timeline. The prime timeline is, I think it's called in the comics. So they are like the time cops.
Yes.
So I'll stop there. I'll get your reactions to the first part of the show, Loki and the Time Variance Authority. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I mean, they did a great job of catching you up to where you're like, okay, I mean, obviously you'd be in better shape if you've watched the movies and seen all that stuff, but had you not, if you just get dropped into the series, they show you, okay, this guy gets, he grabs this thing, he gets poofed over to the desert, and then these people come to arrest him and stuff. So I thought they did a great job with a recap. It was very quick. I still love Hulk. His whole stairs thing, he's just so angry about the stairs. He's so angry all the time anyhow, but I just thought it was really great. So stairs, So I thought the recap was really good. The introduction to the TVA folks was pretty cool. Like you said, that talking about the glorious purpose, where I'm Loki and I'm burdened with glorious purpose. I love it. So they did a great job with the introduction. And so when you first are exposed to the TVA, like you said, the Rocky and Bullwinkle type video, I read an article where they interviewed the director, and she was talking about, oh man, she just knocked it out of the park with this one.
She did great.
But she said, imagine if you will, where they developed you develop technology, but there you don't really have to progress past it. So it's, so you have these kind of retro looking things, and because time travels different or passes differently there, once you had something that was good enough, there's really no need to go further, so so that's kind of what she said was kind of the lowdown for that. So I loved that. I thought it was cool. So we'll talk about set design later on, but yeah, for sure. Great set design. We want to set aside a space for that because it's so good. Sure.
So the TVA takes him and puts him on trial because he branched off. He did something he wasn't supposed to do, and he created a branch off of the sacred timeline. And apparently, if you do this, the TVA can put you on trial and then erase you from existence. So don't go messing with time. And really, really great scenes going through on trial, and then they introduce Owen Wilson's character. His character's name is Mobius M. Mobius, and was he fantastic or what in this?
He was so good.
It was like classic Owen Wilson, but also not classic Owen Wilson.
Right. Yeah.
And so he had an introduction where he was in France in like 1549 or something like that, and kind of showed what what these TVA agents can do. And so traveling back in time, really great scene with the little girl and the, uncovering that the culprit gave her the gum and the kablooey gum and
kablooey gum. Yep.
She points to the stained glass window and it looks like the devil, but it's just another interpretation of Loki, because we find out at the end of the show that they're chasing Loki, another variant
of Loki. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so he gets word that they've got Loki on trial, and he obviously comes out and saves him, and they go through this great therapy scene, and it really recaps Loki, his MCU history, and then we know what happens with Loki, but he doesn't. So they're showing him his future, and it's an incredible little way to catch the audience.
Brilliant.
And give some exposition and
and to emotionally
start breaking Loki.
So again, to go back to it, this is 2012 Loki before he's done any of this other stuff. So they do a great job of, in the span of about 15 minutes, getting him where he needs to be emotionally faster. So here it took several movies to get him to where you wanted him to be. Right. And now in the span of about 15 minutes, TV time, he's gotten there. And it was great. It was really great.
So well done. Well done. And it, so to catch you up a little bit on Loki's history, MCU history, the first Thor movie, he feels like he should be king of Asgard and blah, blah, blah. It's Thor: The Dark World. He pretends to die, all the while taking the throne of Asgard. And then Ragnarok, he starts his redemption path.
Right.
And they don't go past Ragnarok right away.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. But to give a break in the therapy session, they put Loki on a little getaway mission.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason for this is so powerful. So they put him on a little getaway mission, and he's hiding with one of maybe the highlights of the show, this guy named Casey.
Yes. Yeah.
Who is working at the desk, and then he's the guy, he's talking to him about the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
And so they get to the Infinity Stones, and so Marvel's done an incredible job over the last 10, 11, 12 years building up the Infinity Stones.
Right.
Making them this ultimate power in the universe. And in one tiny little itty bitty scene, this TV show throws the Infinity Stones in a drawer and says,
literally a drawer.
Not gonna happen here. Literally a drawer.
Yeah.
And makes them insignificant. And it's so brilliant that they did this, because once you've done that with the Infinity Stones with Thanos and you've killed half the universe, how do you top that? How do you make something bigger than that? And then also, how do you not make it so people just continually time travel to go get Infinity Stones?
Right.
Boom. This is how you do it. You make them insignificant. Right. In the TVA, and then Loki himself, who has been chasing the stones, chasing the Tesseract. Brett said last week, how many times is he going to take the Tesseract?
Right.
And earlier when he when he first gets to the TVA, the Casey guy's like, what is this? And he's like, it's the Tesseract. Be careful with it.
Right.
Goes, sounds dumb.
Yeah, right. So Casey's played by this guy, Eugene Cordero, and
he's a comedian.
He really is a great comedian, and he's on a show with the Broken Lizard guys from Super Troopers called Tacoma FD, and he plays one of the firemen in that, and I love that show. It's really, really funny.
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, it's really funny. But so when he showed up in there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be great. Yeah. So anyhow, he does, he really does, and they use comedy to trivialize something that they've, like you said, they've spent how many films building these Infinity Stones to be this just incredible thing. And they're literally in a drawer, and the guy goes, yeah, we use them as paperweights, and you can see, in all seriousness, you can see what this does to Loki, because he all of a sudden, because prior to that, he's not taking any of this seriously. I mean, they do vaporize a guy at one point, and he's like, well, wait a minute, and then the no scene ticket. Where, no ticket, which that should be something we should do for a show sometime. We'll talk about that, So anyhow, he hasn't really. There's been a couple situations where he's taken stuff seriously, but for the most part, he's not. He's not taking any of this seriously. And to be honest, it looks like the DMV from the 1950s, and it's. I think we talked about it. Like, it reminds me of when I worked at IBM and the DMV, like, together. It's just like nothing has moved forward. It's just this. It's just this frozen in time place, which is funny because it's just this time thing. So it was really interesting to me, because you see the realization on his face, and he even says, "What is this place?" And
he says,
and that's
Then he says, "Is this the greatest power in the universe?"
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then he realized, because then he's got the moment of realization comes up, and then he kind of resigns himself to going back to that room that Mobius had him in, and he starts really looking at the film, and he sees
his mom die.
He sees his mom die, and that's how they really.
Oh man!
It was again, Rene Russo, amazing.
Yeah.
So she just in that moment that I can't overemphasize or tip my hat enough to them for progressing him emotionally in such a short span of time,
and so effectively,
and have it not be trivial, and have it not be tongue-in-cheek, have it not be like legitimately, you could get him to a place he needs to be in a very short amount of time, not waste a lot of cycles, a lot of time there, and they pulled it off. And like I said, amazing. Yep, absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
So they get him to that point through that small scene, powerful scene, and then he goes back into the room and he starts watching his future, and he sees that he's actually the one that's responsible for his mother's murder.
Right.
And that breaks him, and because truly, his mother is basically the only person he's ever felt true love from.
Right.
And vice versa, the only person he's ever really truly loved, and so he sees that he's the culprit on that, and then he sees something that nobody wants to see, the end of their real, and literally and figuratively in the show, it shows the end of his reel, and he shows that he's not immortal, and that he can be killed, and boom,
right.
Now he's fully like that whole I am burdened with glorious purpose out and back in a drawer with the Infinity Stones, you know?
Right.
What is my purpose in life? It's like this existential crisis he has immediately off the bat. And now he's still Loki, so he's still got some
mischief there,
mischief and mistrust, and it would be really awesome to see how they play with that. But they got him out. They got the 2012 Loki back in a spot where it was I didn't think they'd be able to do it that well and that quick. So all hats off to and to wrap that up real quick, Mobius comes in and he's like, "We need you because we're hunting you. We're hunting Loki."
Yeah.
And so all hats off in this episode to Tom Hiddleston. Blew it out of the water.
For sure.
Holy cow, did he do great.
Yep.
Dramatic, comedic, just all of it in one. He nailed it.
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's the sign of a really good a well put together production, you know, and Marvel has really done a great job with that for the most part, top to bottom, with the exception of a couple of Thor movies in there. But, you know, they've done a great job. But then even those Thor movies, as bad as they were, they're hugely important to this particular series, you know. So
the Thor: The Dark World comes back up in another movie, and it feels like the Feigster is like, I'm gonna redeem this movie,
right? Yeah, I'm gonna save this thing no matter what, you know.
I'm gonna put it in the biggest movie of all time,
right.
The best TV show.
So I thought they did a really great job. But you know, I mean, that to me, that's a sign of a really great series, is where they can take you, you know, to these highs emotionally and action wise and comedically, and you know, but then in a split instant later take you to an emotional place, you know, but then break it, you know, again with some sort of comedy. So they take you on that up and down and up and down, and that's
they just cast
great.
That's
so great storytelling. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hiddleston is just amazing. I've really become a big fan of Tom Hiddleston over the years, and he's really, really talented. He's a great impressionist. He does a great impersonation of Owen Wilson, actually.
Oh, does he really? That's funny.
Yeah, so he's really talented, really smart.
Doesn't hurt that he's pretty handsome dude either. So.
He's so he's as Loki. He's not as handsome when he takes the Loki makeup off and the hair off. He's a very handsome guy.
Which brings up the DB Cooper scene. So
what a amazing way to bring that in.
Yeah,
and I love that it was like, oh, I lost a bet to Thor.
Yeah, right. And
like, what other hijinks did Thor and you get in, you know? Like,
you just see him vaporized. And all the money's just like floating down.
Yeah. What a great, like,
it was great.
He's DB Cooper. You were DB Cooper. I can't believe it. You know?
And Mobius, you know, it's like, oh, you're DB Cooper.
It would have been amazing if he was like, wow, you were DB Cooper. Wow.
Give us a wow. Yeah. I'm sure we'll get a wow in there.
I'm betting we're gonna get one. So great first episode. Hooks you right away, hooks you throughout, and then hooks you for next week's episode. So looking forward to it. Want to talk about some production stuff, right? So the set design, you mentioned it. Feels like a 50s DMV. It's very 50s sci-fi. Feels very much like Philip K. Dick. He wrote the Blade Runner, Adjustment Bureau. Did you see Adjustment Bureau?
I did not, but
it's so good.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt. And Matt Damon, and it's this
Matt Damon.
So
Matt Damon.
And so the Adjustment Bureau, it's like this kind of time variance authority type group that they're very old school, and then they wear like people from like Mad Men, you know, it's like Mad Men. And so
which was the cool thing about that DB Cooper scene too, was that it was very madmanish, you know, and he was very slicked up and just looked great, you know, and he was with his sunglasses. He did really, it was really cool. But you know, the bit where he where they walk out on that platform, you know, and it reminded me of Space Mountain at Disney World. You know, because you have like this concrete walkway that they're on with the concrete wall with the bar across it, and then you look out over Tomorrowland is basically what it kind of looks like.
It feels like Tomorrowland. That's great.
Like it's like a Tomorrowland / Blade Runner, you know, kind of Jetsons, you know, almost. So it was really neat. It was really kind of cool how they did it, and you know, when you think about it, you're like, okay, well, what kind of bureaucracy and rule setting would you have to rule over time? You know, to make sure, like you would. You know, like any other bureaucracy, you would, or any type of government, you would need, a pretty big bureaucracy to handle a job that large. And
Right.
So and again, if everything was just good enough, you know, like once you got something good enough, you wouldn't have to innovate any further. So but yeah.
No, that's a great point. And with that, I just got off my notes because I was trying to remember who scored the movie or scored the show, because the score it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's got like a very Viking type melody to it throughout it. And so I'm trying to remember what's her name, but she was actually the person. She was a backup musician on America's Got Talent back in the day. It may have been like Britain's Got Talent. Is either Britain or America's Got Talent.
Okay.
And she came out and egged Simon Cowell for ruining the music industry, like in the middle of the show. And
no kidding. That's awesome.
Amazing. She still gets a job after that, and she gets this incredible job and knocks it out of the park. So I have to
that scene that I'm describing where Loki looks out over the city, if you will, or the world that they're in, that score at that particular moment was so great.
And when he was watching his mother die too, that very very Viking-ish melody. And so Natalie Holt is her name. Natalie Holt. Okay. I want to give proper credit to her. So
yeah, brilliant score. I mean, just
everything on every level. The cinematography was great, and you know, there's a lot of visual effects in it, but Marvel does a great job. This is a TV show with a movie budget, you know, and so the visual effects were great. Cinematography, production design, score, top to bottom. Michael Waldron is the creator. He's the writer. So he's the guy that got to put this all together. Great job. Yeah. He's writing, or he wrote Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So there's two multiverse connections there. Okay. We're going to talk about where this is going.
We're going to see a lot of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
what's the deal with the Judge Renslayer?
Yeah, played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw.
Yeah,
she. We'll get more into her as her character gets bigger.
Okay.
But in the comics, she's tied to Kang the Conqueror, and so Kang the Conqueror is one of the mightiest of villains that the Avengers face.
Okay.
And Kang the Conqueror is confirmed to be a bad guy in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Okay.
And so there's a theory out there that Kang the Conqueror is one of the timekeepers.
Yeah.
One of the three timekeepers. So you see their faces on her behind the wall, and the one that looks like, so he's being played by Jonathan Majors of Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
He's going to be Kang. That one behind her looks like Jonathan Majors. And in the cartoon, the middle one had somewhat of a Jonathan Majors look to him. So very interesting tie-ins from other Marvel properties going on, and very excited to see where this goes. But looks like Owen Wilson and Loki are on their own buddy time cop show, right, where they're going to be chasing down other Lokis. I wonder how many Lokis we'll see.
Yeah.
The big theory is that they're going to be chasing down Lady Loki, and we'll see. We don't know quite yet, but very excited to see those two guys go on a time cop buddy adventure.
Yeah, no, I think it looks. I mean, so far I'm really impressed. I really am. I think I really enjoyed the Hunter. I think what's her Hunter B-15 or whatever it is. Mosaku. What's her first name?
Go ahead and look that up. I'll talk a little bit about her because
Wunmi Mosaki.
She first appeared through that portal, and I loved how Loki was like, "I am Loki of Asgard, and I'm burdened with glorious purpose." And these Mongolians are looking at him like, "Who are you?" And he sees them pop out of this like window out of nowhere, and he's like, "Never mind." He runs over to that because that's normal to him. Like that,
right.
You know, like that is what's funny about it is he'd rather talk to that weirdness going on than
right.
And so that was great.
No, she was really great. I think that we'll see a pretty fun back and forth between her and Loki over the course of the series. I think the other bit that I'm actually happy with is that they are that they're keeping it to 6 episodes.
Is that confirmed?
I think that's what that's what I thought was. I've only seen 6 episodes, but I'm hoping that that's the case because, you know,
6 episodes.
Yeah. So, which is fine. You know, for me, that's fine. If that's all you need to tell your story, then let's keep it at 6 episodes. Exactly. You know, if don't drag it out for 2 episodes more than you really need to, a la Game of Thrones, you know, and have a bunch of crap stuff that you don't need. So if you can tell a concise, good story in 6 episodes, I'm all for it. So, but so far I love it. So far it looks pretty good. So
totes my goats, love it so far. We'll keep this going each week. Only six episodes. That's not too bad. But looking forward to see where this goes, and we'll keep you up to date on the latest as we watch and as you watch. And
any questions people have or comments or stuff that you think that we should be talking about or covering within the show that we're not talking about, let us know, and we're happy to talk about it, happy to hit on it or whatever. So
great point. So with that being said, enjoy episode 2, which I don't think we have a title for yet, but looking forward to next Wednesday already.
Yeah, right. And I actually love that this is coming out on Wednesday.
Yeah,
I really do.
It's a good change up.
Yeah,
from the Friday.
I mean, because Fridays, I don't have a lot of time. You know, going into my weekends, it's pretty busy, you know. Yeah. So Wednesday evenings after everybody goes to bed, I can watch it and everything's good, you know. But usually weekends I've got a lot. So I'm actually happy that it's on Wednesdays. So,
totally. Yeah. And we'll cover it on the rundown or on these not on the rundown, no spoilers.
Not on the rundown, yes.
We'll cover it each week as a separate video. So thanks for tuning in, Eric. Great job. Looking forward to talking more about this show with you as we go along throughout the season. With that being said, peace.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.